This is Autoline This Week, the show that gets you inside the global automotive industry. Autoline This Week partnered with the Consulate General of Canada in Detroit to produce this episode.
Hi, I'm John McElroy. Welcome to Autoline This Week. You all know that General Motors makes millions of cars every year and sells them, but it's getting into a new part of business too, where it's going to sell used cars. It's a very interesting way of doing it. They call it CarBravo. And we're going to learn what it's all about today because I've got the senior manager of CarBravo, Dan Ahearn, who's joining us right now. Dan, great to have you here today.
Thanks, sir, for having me, John, and looking forward to it.
So I find this fascinating, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show. As I just said, GM builds millions of new cars and trucks every year, but now it's got a big push on to sell more used vehicles. Why?
Good question, John. And you know, it's because our dealers are involved in that area of the business, right? If you look on any given time, you know, our dealers will have about 400,000 used cars. And the interesting thing about that is those are not just General Motors cars, right? So it's our non-GMs that, you know, will be part of CarBravo as well, which is really, you know, interesting because that allows us, you know, to keep that within the family. And grow those customers into ultimately new car customers as well. So it's a big part of the business, and a successful new car dealer will have a successful used car operation. So we have some really powerful ones out there.
You know, I find that intriguing that you're going to sell non-GM products through this portal called CarBravo. I mean, you're going to be helping out the competition to a degree, right? I mean, if used cars sell very well, the residual values are up, that allows the automaker that's selling new ones to offer a better lease rate, for example, because the residual or the resale value is better. So why would GM go out and help some of its competitors in this regard?
Well, John, that's but I think what it actually does is helps us in those areas that you mentioned, you know, because what we do is we get that opportunity to, you know, pull that customer in. Let's say they buy a Honda or they buy a Toyota, you know, we pull them in, they end up buying that used car from our dealers. They end up buying, you know, ultimately maybe a newer used car and then probably a new car. So that helps us, as you said, you know, in the residual area as well, because, you know, we get to minimize, you know, in some instances, the expenses that go with that. So, but yeah, it's a unique endeavor from that standpoint.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I've never heard of any other car company doing anything like it. But for the audience's sake, let's take them through a little bit about CarBravo. Explain it, because you're even offering this as a total online experience. So, I mean, in a sense, you're also competing against others like CarMax and Carvana in that regard.
Yeah, John, I like to keep it into like three buckets. So if you look at, and we just, you know, we started with one portion of it, it's about a wide selection, right? And I said we have 400,000, you know, used cars at any given time. And, you know, usually about 40% of those are actually non-GM products that are sitting with our dealers. So, you know, they're selling those used cars. But with wide selection, the next part of it kind of it pieces into that, and that is this e-commerce platform. We're working with a partner, Techion, who we've had, you know, for a few years, and that's what you just mentioned, the e-commerce platform. So we'll take, you know, that wide selection. We'll take all the participating dealers, and on one website, a customer will be able to see all that CarBravo inventory. And then the other part of that platform that you were just mentioning is, you know, it gives that ability of the customer to do as much or as little of the process they want to do online. And I would reference the model that we've developed with CarBravo. You know, the customers right now, about 10% of them want to do the entire transaction online. So this platform will allow us to do that. We'll allow our dealers to do that, the customers to do that, because that's what they want. But most of them want to have, 90% of them want to have this interaction, kind of an online, offline experience. They want to go in, they want to kick the tires, they want to check and see. These are used cars, so there's, you know, blemishes, there's miles, there's those kind of things that they have to look at and say, do I think that that's a good deal? So, again, what we've developed with CarBravo is that experience of being able to go online, offline, back online, et cetera. So it's really the best of everything. And that's why it is different actually than Carvana, because Carvana is an entirely online experience. You don't get that interaction, the ability to ask questions. And then, John, the third part of it is really around, the ownership or the feature benefits. So we'll have standard warranties on all of these cars for the consumers. They'll have OnStar and XM trials. They'll be inspected and certified by our qualified technicians. So there's a whole suite of benefits for a consumer with CarBravo as well.
So I guess up to now, consumers have maybe been able to get on a dealer's website and search which kind of used car inventory they have. You're opening this up nationwide. I mean, if I'm a consumer and I want to search what used cars CarBravo has to offer, I'm searching through a national database of used cars. Is that right?
Right. And that sounds like overwhelming when I say it's going to be tens and tens of thousands of cars, right? But, what used car shoppers do is they don't shop like new car shoppers. They don't shop by brand. They actually shop by segment. So I'm out, I'm looking for an SUV. I'm looking for an SUV that has less than 30,000 miles. So this platform that we've developed, the customer will control, and they'll be able to say, okay, now the platform has, let's say, 80,000 cars on it. Well, I'm really boiling it down to, I want an Equinox, within, 30 miles that's black with all-wheel drive. So it really allows that customer to hone in and then, get selection from there.
Yeah. Now, if I'm searching as a customer through a national inventory, what if I want to do a test drive and the vehicle's several states away from me? Or do I just have to give up the test drive at that point?
In that instance, you'd probably give up the test drive, or the dealer, if you made the transaction, or you had the conversation with the dealer could arrange that as well if they choose to do that. The other thing that we've provided is there is a 10-day 500-mile exchange. So if there's that, hey, I've had the chance to drive it now, and I think I would there's the ability for the customer to take that back to the dealer and exchange it for another one.
Oh, very interesting. So, let's go through the process of the used car itself. Is it, certified, pre-owned? Is there any kind of warranty? I mean, what kind of prep do you do for these used vehicles before anybody buys them?
Yeah, John, that's where we think, we have 4,000 dealers nationally, that will not only be able to certify these, but service them after the fact as well. But we have, we actually have two different tiers of vehicles, which really kind of go across most of all the used cars. So it's actually up to 15 years and up to 150,000 miles. So, and there's different inspections that go on the newer vehicles. It'll be a 126-point inspection, and it'll go through all the various things that need to be looked at, engines and tires and bodywork and all of those things to make sure that it's available and ready. And then on the older things, older cars will have the 63-point inspection again to make sure that it has the necessary things available to. And then these will be CarBravo certified. So they'll have if they're out there, they're searching for a certified vehicle, CarBravo will come up from that standpoint when they're looking for it.
So let's say I'm somebody that wants to do the whole online experience. How do I know the car is what it's being presented as? How do I make sure that it's true representation? How do I get a chance to look at the car other than just, some pictures or anything like that?
Well, that's the other thing that used car buyers have told us is, they want transparency. So we're going to have, as part of CarBravo, photography that's going to be very straightforward. And there'll be 28 to 33 different photos. There'll be interior and exterior. There'll be a 360-degree view. Blemishes, as we call them, will be called out so that the customer can see, all of that prior to looking at. So a very transparent experience from a consumer standpoint.
So this is interesting. So I can get online on the CarBravo website, I guess, right?
Yep.
And I can start searching for whatever vehicle I want. And then I can do this 360 kind of walk around and see everything about it. Then what? What if I say, here's the one I want? Take me through the steps of how I get that vehicle.
I'm going to step back, John, just to say the other thing, with that is, we talked about the inspection. The customer is going to see that inspection, digital inspection too. So that, the dealer will do the inspection, then they'll load it onto the website so that the customer knows here's the 126 things that they looked at, and be able to say, okay, they checked off, they replaced wipers, or something similar to that. So they'll be very easy to see the condition and what was done on the car. On the process, the customer they can do everything. So if they've gotten to that point, they've selected the car, now they can actually apply for credit. So that's the next step is, right, hey, I want to get a loan on this car, so they'll apply for credit. They can load all of the documentation that's required.
Okay, and Dan, is this going to be through GM Finance?
GM Finance will be a part of it, but dealers use finance sources across the board. But we'll have a presence for GM Financial as well. They'll be significant from the standpoint of offering customers choices on financing.
Okay, I just wanted that clarification. So take us. Okay, now I got financing. Now what?
Well, then, it starts all the process after that, right? I have to have an insurance document. I have to have a driver's license, so all of those things can be uploaded into the transaction. And at the same time, the dealership on the other side is working all of this with the customer as well. There's a chat function. So if there's, any questions that the customer might have, and then as we get down, they can select their if they want additional protection plans, they can, if they have accessories that they want to put on their truck, let's say, they can do all of those things within the site. And then they get to the point where they're at the end. Maybe they want home delivery. They check that off. I want to take home delivery, or I want to take delivery in the office. They do that. It goes to the dealer. Dealer makes all the arrangements, shows up with the car. There's some states that still require wet signatures on certain documents, so they'll have those if there's any requirements. But everything else will be done online, John.
Yeah, very interesting. So you said earlier you think about 10% of customers will do the whole online experience. Do you think that's going to change over time? I mean, the impression out there is that older people like me want to go physically to a dealer and kick the tires, but a younger generation, that does so much purchasing online anyway and grew up doing it that way, which is going to be increasingly the kind of people who buy new cars. Do you think that's going to skew the 10% to a greater number?
I do, John, and I've read other experts, I guess I would say, from the standpoint, and I see a 15-20% is really what is being indicated, but that'll probably grow too, right? I mean, look at what happened with Amazon and some others, as they progress. So, but that's the beauty of it. Our dealers will be able to respond in either direction. Because they'll have this tool to do the online, and obviously they have the ability with the, as we call it, brick and mortar with the stores to be able to, when customers want to come in and do that as well.
How have your dealers reacted to this? Because I can see on one hand, they think, hey, I can sell more cars, but dealers, they spend a lot of money on their store. They want people to come to their store. So how have they reacted to this?
Very well, John, and in particular, I went through the 3 items, and probably again the exciting part about this is the e-commerce platform that really because it not only has items for the customer, and makes that very transparent and totally online experience. But there are things that make it a lot easier for the dealer as well. So, those back end tools that are necessary to be in there are really powerful. I just touched like on the digital inspection. That allows the dealer to do multiple VINs at one time to check to see if they can be certified. If they can't be certified, they go out, and then they can, hey, this car needs about 500 worth of reconditioning done. That can go to a manager. They can on their phone just approve it and continue the process. And then they can upload that digital inspection form onto the website. So there's a lot from a technology standpoint in CarBravo, and that's the really exciting part, because it is a much better customer experience, and takes time out of the process, not only for the customer but for the dealers as well and the salespeople.
Mm-hmm. And electric cars are coming down the pike here too. I got to believe that part of the focus is going to be on EVs.
CarBravo is a very good platform for electric vehicles, for a lot of reasons. So as we evolve, we'll roll that in as more and more electric vehicles come out. But it's definitely, from a transaction standpoint, has that capability, especially, the electric vehicle customers are early adopters, right? So that gives them, they can be early adopters in the used car space as well for EVs.
Yeah. You mentioned that GM dealers typically have about 400,000 used vehicles in inventory. How's that compared to Carvana or CarMax or anybody like that?
Typically what I see, and frankly, everybody's down in inventory right now, right? So if I go out there, I think I've seen as many as 50,000, on the platform. So I think, it's probably somewhere in that neighborhood of 50 to 70,000. So we think we'll have, with our dealers, a much wider selection.
Yeah, no kidding. And then General Motors has probably tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of vehicles coming off lease every year. I got to believe those are going to go right into the CarBravo platform.
Yeah, they are a part of it. And we do typically have about 500,000 off lease company cars and rentals, that will be part of CarBravo as well. And, to the point you made earlier about, residual values, that should help us in that area as well, as we, take those through the platform and get those, to customers. So we're really excited about that as well.
No kidding. So can you give us any sales projections? There's 400,000 vehicles in inventory, but presumably dealers might sell them not just through CarBravo. How many do you think you can sell?
John, we're still enrolling dealers. So I'm going to, at this point, maybe you'll have me back later and we can talk more about that. But we're enrolling dealers, so we have to, find out how many we end up having take the opportunity, and then, from there we'll have a better idea of what that means from a volume standpoint. But we're pretty excited about it.
Dan, how did this come about? Because like we've been talking, no other car company has done anything quite like this. How did this whole conversation get going within GM?
That's a good question, and I was asked it before about whether it was the pandemic, and it really wasn't. What this is about is that customers are asking for a fully transparent process, with capability, with wide selection. So when we sat down and we looked at it, there's a number of ways that you could have gone, but we looked at it and said, we want this capability for customers. And the all makes and models, as you can probably guess, it was a big deal, right? Hey, General Motors is selling non-GM vehicles. That's a big thing for us. And our dealers already do it, so it was just a natural there. And then we looked at it and said, you can revise this, you can adjust this, but then we went down, we said, okay, we're going to address selection. Here's how we can address selection: by having all makes and models and engaging with our dealers. We wanted to have a platform. Unfortunately, this Techion-based platform was in development. So let's make sure we have a very modern, comprehensive, end-to-end experience for the consumer that they can do entirely online or not. And then the last of it was, again, just looking at those, okay, how do I make sure I address what is the customer's expectations? And I'll share with you just one thing. It's kind of a recap from a research group that we did, but it was interesting. One of the people in the research said, it's kind of like you thought about all the things that customers are worried about with used cars, and you addressed all of them. And that's, we to your point, I think we really looked at it holistically and said, all right, what are each of the pieces of the used car process, and how can we address those? But the customer really drove, what we're doing with CarBravo.
Yeah, let's go back to the GM selling non-GM vehicles, though. Clearly, okay, your dealers are already doing it, but that's your dealers, and most of them are multi-brand points anyway, and not just GM brands. But for General Motors to decide it's going to sell used vehicles of non-GM brands is quite a development. So GM must see real real profit opportunities with CarBravo that goes beyond just selling used GM vehicles.
We do, John, and I like to use the example of a dealer that I used to contact when I was on the East Coast, and he said, "Hey, I sold a customer a Dodge Ram, 7 years ago. They came back and they bought a certified Silverado 4 years ago, and I just put them into a new Silverado." So that's the progression, and if we can keep those customers within the network of our dealers, there's opportunity for us to grow new car volume and used car volume.
Yeah. Have you heard from any of these other car companies whose used cars you're selling?
No, I haven't given them my phone number, though.
Yeah. Well, how big could CarBravo come to be? I mean, you mentioned you've got almost 4,000 dealers. You're still enrolling them. Are you going to enroll them all, or are you getting pushback from any of them?
We're not getting pushback, but there are dealerships that have very big used car operations, and we're getting some of those. But I think if you look at where we're going, the used car market is over 40 million vehicles, which is 2.5 times the size of the new. And I don't think a lot of people know that. It's very fragmented. Because you got a lot of independents, you have these new, the Carvanas, Vrooms, et cetera, coming into the picture. But there's the ability to coordinate. So collectively, us going at it with CarBravo, we think there's a big opportunity to get more of the 40 million in total.
Wow. So how big could it be? And have you looked maybe making CarBravo a standalone company that does this for any dealer, not just GM dealers?
But we haven't progressed to that part yet, John, to brand it, so to speak, outside of General Motors. But the volume really has. We currently sell through our network 2.5 million used cars. So we think the 2.5 million definitely grows to something larger. And again, the used car market continues to grow. Now we'll see what happens, after the last year and a half or so with what has happened on the new side. We'll probably flatten out for a period of time. But the used car market is less prone to shocks, so to speak. So it's going to stay very stable. So we think we have a really good suite of benefits and a platform here that's going to allow us to compete aggressively in that area.
Yeah, no, this is very fascinating. Are you worried, though, that somebody else might come along and say, hey, I like this CarBravo idea, but I'm going to offer it to all dealers, not just to GM dealers?
I'll have to cross that one when it comes up, John. But we as you mentioned earlier, we were really thoughtful about what we did, including the branding of CarBravo and having that name out there. We want customers. It's a very fun, exciting look to it and feel. As we get towards launch, late spring, early summer, you'll start to see us, with advertising that comes out that really, addresses that customer from the standpoint of, all of these benefits and, the excitement that the CarBravo brings.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I should have asked this earlier too. When do you officially launch? When can I, as a customer, log on and start shopping?
We're going to regionally, so we're gonna start and go kind of east to west, and the first dealers will be up, probably late spring, early summer. So that probably May, June timeframe.
Mm-hmm. Am I missing anything else here, Dan? We're down to the last minute or so.
No, I appreciate you having me on, and I know I have some questions that maybe we'll be together later on, and we can address some of those questions that still need to be defined, because, as I said, we're still enrolling dealers. So we're excited about it. We got some momentum with our dealers with it, and we think we're offering the customer what they want, which is, again, that transparent. And really the ability for them to do it on their own. And we all want more time back, right? And I think, being able to, provide that to the customer makes the purchase experience of a used auto much better.
Well, I promise you, once you're up and running, we'll give it a year or so. We'll have you back and see how you've done.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
Good. Dan Ahearn, the Senior Manager for CarBravo at General Motors, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, John.
Autoline This Week partnered with the Consulate General of Canada in Detroit to produce this episode.